party. That was the first Beatles national press, and we got the back page of the Mirror. I've always been a little, you know, loose. And I hope it'll change, because I'm fed up of waking up in the papers, you know. But if it doesn't, you know, my friends are my friends, whatever way. You know.
Let's talk about the new album, John, because really the recording of the new LP spanned quite a long time.
It spanned many eons, Bob,
yes.
Many eons. Well, the rock and roll album, folks, started in '73 after I'd finished Mind Games, and I was really in the middle of that, oh, you know, what's going on, mother, life, help. And I'd just done Mind Games, and I was thought, you know, how can I have some fun instead of all this writing my feelings in these songs, you know, being the writer and the artist, you know. I thought, what can I do to, you know, break that regime of, you know, writing the song John Lennon writes, new song, is it about him or is it about Paul or, you know, whatever. So I thought, I know, I'm always in between takes, and with the Beatles too, always would break into Bebop-A-Lula, or we'd always jam those songs, you know. They're my favourite songs, a lot of them. And I never did them because I admired the original so much I wouldn't dare touch them. But by now people are ruining everything, so I thought, why can't I do it? You know, they're all doing it, so what the hell, you know. So I thought, I know, who shall I use, you know? The great Phil Spector, you know. I'd used him before, but I'd always controlled it and been co-producer. But this one, it took me 3 weeks to talk him into being the producer. I said, look, I'm Ronnie on this one, all right? I just want to sing, I don't want to know nothing about nothing. So we started the sessions, and they went well, and then they gradually collapsed into mania, you know. Is one way of putting it. But it definitely got crazy, you know. There was 28 guys playing a night, and 15 of them were out their minds, including me. And the sessions broke down. We broke them down pretty well, me and Phil. They got really balmy, you know. I'm not even going to say what happened. Some of it was ridiculous. And that's the first time I ever let an album out of my control since the first Beatle albums. I never do it again. You know? And next minute, I didn't have the tapes, and Phil had a car accident. That's all I heard. I waited 8 months in LA, waiting for him to recover.
Where was he at that point, John?
He's a mysterious man. His woodwork to perform, my dear. Phil works in such mysterious ways. His woodwork to perform. He's a great artist, but like all artists, it's... you know, anyway, all I knew, I was sitting around in LA waiting for the tapes to finish the album, right? So I got and that's how I ended up doing Harry. I was just hanging out with you know, guys, and all we were doing was getting drunk and, you know, waking up, you know, sick. So that's how I said to Harry, let's forget this, let's do something, you know. So then after that, I came home to New York, and I was, by then I'd straightened myself out, and I was ready to do Walls and Bridges, and I was straight and, you know, no drink, right? And I thought, okay, I'm ready to record. The day before I go in to record, I get the tapes back. We finally made a deal. It had to do with deals, as usual. I get the Phil Spector tapes back. There's about 8 tracks. Half of them you couldn't use, you know, for one reason or another. Like, if you've got 10 people playing out of tune, and the other, you know, I mean, like that Angel Baby is a phenomenal track. You know, so I sorted out the best of the Spector stuff, what I thought was the best, and decided the best way to finish it was to just go in and finish it. So I did the rest of it by myself, using the basic unit that I usually use, about 8 guys. And I did it in about 5 days, you know, 3 tracks a night, you know. I just said, rock and roll, okay, rock. We just went in. I rehearsed them a couple of days beforehand, so they were loose. Then we just went in and did, like, take 1, Stand By Me, take 2, Bebop-A-Lula, you know, the opposite of what was going on down on the West Coast. And this was a year later. I did that after Walls and Bridges. I took about a couple of weeks off, and then it was a choice of either just leaving it forever and never putting it out, or trying to find some format for 4 or 5 Spector tracks, which I didn't think were singles. You know, they might be, I couldn't tell, you know. I was so sick of the whole thing. So I thought, now what do I do? Just leave it in the can. I hate leaving stuff in the can. I've got no stuff in the can, neither of the Beatles. And I thought, okay, finish it off and see what it is, you know. So I finished it off, and I played it round to a few people that weren't me. And they said, I played it to the record company. I didn't know what to do with it. I said, yeah, I don't know whether to release it even. You know, I've got it off my chest, I've finished it. And they all said, this is all right. This is all right, let's put it out. I said, it's all right, is it? Okay, we'll put it out. And then once it went out, I thought, great, it's out, you know. It's out after, because I've never been so long on an album in my life. It was longer than Sgt. Pepper, you know. I normally take 8 weeks to make an album from start to finish and out in the shops, you know, otherwise I get bored. And this has been going on and on. Oh, click.
Yeah, you touched on Sergeant Pepper, John, and...
Oh, did I? Yeah,
yes,
that was
you did.
9 months off and on. You know?
Yeah.
And, but it wasn't like 9 months in the studio. It was 9 months over a period. You know, we'd do a section and then stop and then come back in, if I can remember it right. And I like to just get in and out. You know, I get a bit bored.
Was Sergeant Pepper done on an 8-track?
They keep telling me that. It's 4 or 8. It must have been 8. It wasn't 16. I never saw a 16 in EMI, I don't think. If I've got you wrong, I'm sorry. But I don't think... It was always the 16 was coming, you know. Mm. And I don't know, 4 or 8. I'm not sure.
Mm. How did you do it, then?
I've no idea. I can't remember it. You know, I remember something about an orchestra and we were all dressed up. That's the only bit I remember. I remember being... You know, my memory is different, right? I remember singing... Day in the Life on a guitar and Mal shouting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the breaks, and it's really like that, and taking the picture on the album.
Yeah.
And if you look closely at the album cover, you'll see 2 people who are flying and 2 who aren't. That's just a little in-joke for people. 2 of them didn't share it with 2 others.
Again, John, something really that's always fascinated me is the working relationship between yourself and George Martin, because you were talking earlier about wanting to be in control of things. And I get the feeling, really, that in terms of the working relationship, and you must tell me whether this is right or not, between you and George Martin worked in the sense that he was the technical advisor, and in a sense the creative input, the musical input, came from the band. I mean, is that true?
Yeah, but live radio coming through, you know. So whatever came through on the radio was like... Now, if I don't know where it came from. If I said, I want the radio on it, George would make it so as I could mix in there, but the radio would be coming through the machines, you know. But he also come up with things like, well, have you heard an oboe? Oh, which one's that? Is this one? Yeah, that would be nice. You know, things like that. So it was really, we grew together, you know. And so it's like saying, it's hard to say who did what, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, he taught us a lot, and I'm sure we taught him a lot by our sort of primitive musical ability, which is all I have still, you know. I still have to have something to translate what I'm trying to say all the time. And so it was a mutual benefit society, whatever they call it.
And you just now, John, started putting together ideas for the new album.
Yeah, I've got 3/4 of the new album on scraps of paper, which is usual. And now I'm going through the bit of going over them and sort of half arranging them before I go in the studio. I'm also in the process of putting a TV show together that'll be round the album and round other music.
What, a one-off, you mean?
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to be Coronation Street. Just one show, you know. And so I'm sort of coordinating that with the album. So I'm really, so it's in my head, you know. I just have to put it on paper now.
Presumably, when the green card comes through, I mean, we will see you in England.
Oh, you bet. Of course, I've got family in England, you know. I've got a child who has to keep travelling. Oh, hello, Julian. Got it in already. I've got my Auntie Mimi. Hello, Mimi, and all my other relatives who are furious at me, but we won't say why. But anyway, Mimi isn't.
Oh, let's stop there, John.
Yeah.
Thanks very much indeed.
It's a pleasure.
Really pleasure to meet you.
And you. Hello, England. Keep sending those chocolate Olivers. Keep your chin up. We'll meet again. I don't know where, don't know when.